It's Spoilerin time. This is the show where myself, Tom Merritt, and my good friend Brian Brushwood talk about something we have watched. In general, we're finding interesting things in and around the internet. Sometimes they're on those free ad-supported services. But this week, I lied and told you we were going to do West Wing season 2, episode 22.
Got him.
Because for some reason, I forgot that Rick and Morty's season finale would be done in time for us to record Spoiler in time. So I had said that that would be next week. Flip-flop that. Rick and Morty season finale talk today, Brian, and then we'll get to West Wing next time.
Yeah, it's no big deal. We're just gonna talk about it in an entire season of a show. Although weirdly, I think we can speak very plainly about trends and themes and which of the episodes that we want, or that we like the most. I'm trying to
Don't forget, patrons, you've heard us talking about Rick and Morty all season on After Talk. So that's kind of been the new way of doing things. If you're not a patron, this is our chance to give you our thoughts on Rick and Morty all in one go. But we're going to focus mostly on the finale, I think, in our talk, because we have been talking about the season on After Talk. And if you're not a patron and want to become a patron, just go become a patron. You get all those old After Talks right away.
Yeah. Well, let's talk in the general about I don't know, I just realized I tried to show the script. Oh, there we go. Okay, I thought I was getting HDMI'd on this. This has been there's been a lot going on this season. Do we want to bring people up to speed for those who are not initiated?
I don't even know how to do that. I was thinking we just dive in on the finale and figure, like, look, if you know what happened this season, if you've watched the finale, you probably watched the rest of it too. And I thought it was really, I almost want to say brave, which is not the right word.
No, well, it's direct, for sure, right? It's
to just bring Diane back and make her a character.
But also, okay, so the very last episode is not subtle. Hello, I'm a mustache twirling bad man. What do I offer? I offer a hole where all your deepest fears are confronted. And then on the outside of it, you'll feel reborn and good. Morty jumps in. So it's not even the actual Diane. And as we find out, it's not even the actual Rick. And it's not actually, like Rick and Morty go through the whole episode.
When did you suspect Rick wasn't there?
And
when or if did you suspect Morty wasn't there?
No. I knew for sure Morty was in there, and I assumed Rick was in there. So I guess, but both Rick and Morty very early on established that neither of them believe that anybody else is real, right? So when Diane, Rick's lost.
So you didn't ever guess that Rick wasn't in there till the end.
No, correct.
Okay,
What about
I don't
you?
feel so bad then.
Because, because you had the same thing happen.
like basically as they were coming out of the multiple, like, oh, I think we're still in the hole. Let's climb out of the hole. Oh, here we go again. I started to be like, maybe they both aren't in there. That's as far as I got when they revealed that Rick wasn't in there.
Yeah. It is, on one level, the dumbest, most simplistic plot device ever.
Which is great. I kind of love that, right? Because you don't get caught up in it.
Exactly. Like in a world where they have aliens named Fleep Flop Glorp Nop or whatever. It's like they're saying it doesn't matter his name. He's here to do a thing.
I love how they went out of the way to be like, and Denny's is punching down. Let's not make fun of Denny's.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
We're gonna make fun of Denny's, but we'll apologize for it immediately.
I liked it quite a bit. What if you were to state what was the transformation? How did Morty and his character arc, how did he emerge a better person in this? What did he cease to be afraid of?
He ceased to be afraid. Oh gosh, he basically says it at the very end. And I can't remember what he says, but
Tom,
doesn't it have something to do with?
I want you to know that I did the terrible podcast co-host thing of half remembering how it ended and handed it to you. So it's okay.
I just all I remember is that Morty says, realizes that he's afraid that Rick would be the kind of person who wouldn't come for him, and that actually tracks, because there are multiple episodes across all 7 seasons where Rick doesn't come for him, and Morty worries that he's forgotten about him, and in the end he doesn't forget about him, and it's fine. And so that becomes the thing, is that Morty is worried that Rick wouldn't jump in the hole to save him, and then finds out that Rick did not jump in the hole to save him, not because he wasn't going to try to save him, but he's like, it was a 1-person ride. I didn't think you were in danger. You were right down there.
Well, so this is one of the tricks that I like to do when we remember all this stuff. Number one, we have no cold open. It goes straight to credit sequence. Second of all, we've got the confusing, awkward, like, hello, I am character who is designed to invite you to refuse the call. So they refuse the call, but then they end up jumping into the hole. And I say they, but it's really just Morty.
Morty jumps into the hole.
Correct.
Rick is like, let's not do this. And they both walk away, and then Morty turns around and can't resist.
And so everything after that is Morty's fantasy of what Rick would do if he was made whole by having his wife returned to him.
Or what his greatest fear would be. And his greatest fear would be getting Diane back and not being able to get rid of her, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's like 12 different revisions to what Rick's fear should be, which should have been the tip-off that Rick wasn't there.
Yeah, well, it's like layers upon layers, because we're not actually watching. And what we see in the show is Rick, going out of his way to, even though he knows this isn't really Diane, he's going to do everything for her or whatever. But then we have to remember that only Morty is in the hole, and so all of this is a projection of what
you need to
Morty
rewatch it with
thinks.
that in mind, because the whole time I'm watching it, I'm thinking, oh, okay, so Rick's greatest fear is that he couldn't lose her again, is losing her again, getting her back and losing her again.
Right.
Which makes sense. It could be.
And eventually they get to the place where it turns out that Morty's the only one in the hole, and his real fear is that he's disposable, that kind of thing.
This felt like the weightiest episode in what was a fairly weighty series of episodes this season.
Yeah. So allegedly, per the press releases, they've got like 3 more episodes or 3 more seasons all written out. And there's also the whole disaster of dealing with the Justin Roiland stuff and all of that. But this episode, or this season, definitely felt like Dan Harmon, like, well, no reason to pretend anymore. It's all me.
Let me take the wheel.
Yeah. It's been me the whole time for 2 seasons, and now it's me from now on. And it's interesting because the fantasy is now destroyed that it was a wacky collaboration between 2 talented individuals, and now it's like the narrative is very clear. No, it's me, Dan Harmon. This is all my stuff. This is me going through therapy. I'm Rick, in case you hadn't noticed.
And it is losing some of the more freewheeling aspects of earlier Rick, but I wonder if that would have happened anyway. Like, I can't tell how much of this is, well, Dan Harmon's more in control of Rick's character, and how much of it is just, no, they always planned to develop Rick this way because you want to have character growth.
Yeah, that's a minefield I'm not prepared to walk into. But I too have those questions, Tom.
Why is that a minefield? I'm curious.
Well, in terms of speculation, because like the only things we have to go on are like, I listened to 9 years of Harmontown, and I read the same headlines as you, and I also know that almost certainly there's something that we don't know. So it's hard for
I'm
me
not
to.
sure. Maybe I'm being misunderstood. My question is, so we've had Dan Harmon. We think. I mean, that's where the controversy is to me, is whether Dan Harmon's really more involved than he was before or not. But it does feel like this is more of a Dan Harmon story. Is that because he's there now, or was it always going to be this way? And I feel like the controversy over other things really doesn't matter to that question.
Yeah, what there was a Hollywood Reporter story where Dan Harmon was on the cover, and his version of the story was that, like, yeah, I've kind of been running everything for 2 years, and so now we're seeing that kind of naked and exposed.
Yeah, set that aside. Would Was this always the plan for Rick from the beginning? Like, whether Dan Harmon has been running it for the past 2 years or not, what I'm trying to suggest is forget what actually is real. Like, if you're plotting out Rick's story, would you want Rick to show this kind of growth, right? Or would he keep being a little more madcap?
I would, if we're only talking about the story and we're not talking about who's telling the story or who guided everything, because who knows what happens in a writer's room.
Yeah,
I could think of nothing better than the story of somebody broken, cynical, jaded, who discovers that he is worthy of all the things, of all the gifts that he has to give to the universe. Like,
but that's not what the story we're seeing yet. It feels like we're pointed, though.
Yet, right?
Yeah.
But we also know for a fact that we have 3 more seasons, right? And now
I feel like it got a little serious a little faster than maybe it would have otherwise. But I think we were on the same track we would have been no matter what.
Well, so let's pull back the camera and look at this season writ large. We began with how Poopy got his poop back, which was
and we end with
with Mr. Poopy,
yeah.
MPB. But we begin with a lighthearted but also dark possible acknowledgement. God, I would love to. Eventually, somebody's going to write a book about this stuff, and we're going to find out how much of it was changed last minute and how much of it was always intended to be this way. Because
do you think this is your favorite season of Rick and Morty?
I think I do, actually. What about you?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be. That's a hard thing to really say because, well, season 1's your favorite because that's why you started liking watching this show, right? Because season 1 was so crazy good. Or maybe not. Maybe season 2 is. They're hard to compare because they're so different in the cycle. But in some manner, I felt like I enjoyed more of this season than I have in a while.
Man, you know how I know that I love it is because I was like on guard when you asked me if it's the best, and I was like, yes.
I don't want to admit the truth, but yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, there's just the right amount of lore. There's just the right amount of meta commentary. There's just the right amount of character development with Rick and as a proxy to Dan Harmon. There's just the right amount of, I don't know, an epic movie and rap battle with the rise of the Americans.
I do feel like there was a lot more Rick and Morty in that order this season. Like, we were back to this being Rick and Morty, and we barely messed with Summer, and Jerry and Mom didn't get any time.
Yeah, well, in the Numericons episode, Morty is pretty much just the Greek chorus that tells us what's going on and what we should feel and so on. By the way, we're kind of burying the lead because all anybody wanted to know going into this was, will the voices be the same?
Oh gosh, yeah, right.
Couldn't tell you the difference. I have totally lost the ability to remember what old Rick and old Morty.
I think the first 2 episodes, I noted a slight difference, right? And it didn't bother me, but because everybody was talking about it, I noted it. I was like, oh, I guess that does sound a little different, but it doesn't bother me. 3rd episode, wasn't even thinking about it. Had to remind myself like, oh, I guess these are different voices, but I'm used to them now, so they just sound like Rick and Morty to me.
Yeah. I think they threaded the stone needle. I think they did the impossible. It's good. It's really good. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, I think that puts a cap on it. Like, unless you have some favorite moments, which Numericons is kind of it, right? Like outside of the finale.
No. I fully intend to play copyrighted music shortly.
Well then, let's get to playing the copyrighted music. Again, that is our discussion of the Rick and Morty season 7, mostly finale, but our thoughts on the season entire. We haven't exactly set a template for this stuff, but this is kind of what we're thinking we'll do is we'll talk about shows that we're watching during After Talk. And then when one gets to the point where we both are excited to talk about it and we've watched an entire season, maybe we'll talk about the finale here on Spoilerin Time for everybody. So you get it all at once. So if you want to follow along with what we're talking about all the time, get After Talk at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Otherwise, just stay here on the free feed and you'll get them as we know we have enough to say about them. In the meantime, in between, we'll be watching classic shows and movies, and we love your suggestions, cordkillers@gmail.com. And the next one will be January 15th, because with the holidays and with me going to CES, we won't have a spoiler in time for a little bit. So if you already watched season 2, episode 22 of 2 Cathedrals, you're ahead of the game. Otherwise, watch that one by January 15th. You can get these episodes first if you are a patron as well at patreon.com/Cordkillers. Hit it, Brian.
You got it.
Why does a 1 hate an I? I gotta wonder when a lowercase I is an imaginary number. Who stands to gain when I shoot up a digit? The division is complex, but you know we gotta bridge it.
You think you can stop me with rap?
More homicides than a dodecahedron. Number V letters, the shit that it feeds on.
Today, alphanumerically combined, like GLOCK means my eyes cold 9.
I got letters and numbers every time I fuck a hole. Giving no one big dick while she screams, ow!
Magna Q gets her wet like she got a cry on. My dick deep on 1-4 feet, that's a python. Y'all acting scared, he ain't one yet. Affinity to 1 odds, that's an alphabet.
Father, you like a force ghost now?
The fuck it look like, son? I came back to help you hand infinity his ass. You ready?
Let's kill it, Pops.
Infinity ain't shit without numbers and letters.
We can blow his ass out
If we work together, rise up. Letters and numbers, I said rise up.
Cause you know we're all brothers.
All right, that's it. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye, y'all.